Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
What's up, Las Vegas, and welcome to Laugh Therapy, where we elevate your mood and your mental well-being one topic at a time. I am your host, bringing you joy, laughter, and a sprinkle of wisdom, Jeaux. Today's episode dives deep into perspective, and I'm super excited about it, as you guys probably already guessed. We'll be discussing how optimism, pessimism, and realism shape our everyday lives. Get ready to laugh, learn, and maybe see the world a little differently by the end of the show. And to do that, I've got my beautiful co-host with me,
JD, aka Sunshine. Oh, you know you got to give me a minute.
Yeah, I thought it was coming. My engineer wasn't engineering.
Hello.
But before we get started, if you are in the Vegas area this upcoming week or a Vegas local looking for something to vibe to, my comedy show, Joking with Friends, premieres this Tuesday at C3 Seafood Cajun Crab and Crawfish. Y'all heard it. Now my engineer up and running. The show does start at 8 p.m. and you do not want to miss it. We have one of the hottest DJs in the city on the ones and twos, DJ MBZ. I've got a fire lineup for you guys, and if you think you know your hip-hop, R&B, or 90s sitcom theme songs, pull up and try your luck during the King's Karaoke during the showcase. I'm so excited to bring this vibe and culture to Vegas, and you know, I love me some seafoods. Come out, crack a laugh, and a crab leg this Tuesday at 8 at C3 Seafood. That is located at 2605 South Decatur. I'm so excited. So you guys pull up on us. It will be quite the time, and we will be getting into... Y'all know we love that sound. And we'll be getting into our topic of today, because as you guys can see, I'm feeling quite optimistic.
All right, y'all. Okay. So how do you define optimism, pessimism, and realism?
I feel like people like to put good and bad terminologies on those, but I won't necessarily name them good and bad. I would describe optimism as a positive outlook on things. I think that it is a great way to try and call things, manifest things. I would think realism is more so focused on what you already have, whereas being optimistic is enjoying what you have, but knowing what it is that you're going for and still, you know, calling that to you and being excited about that coming. Whereas realism is like, this is what I've got and I don't have that. That's the truth. And in order to get that, I need to do this, and this is kind of what I think. I think realist is just looking at it from a worker's point of view. How much work do you need to do in order to get to the next level, or this is the situation that I'm in and I can't change it, is kind of how I feel a realist is. Mindset in my view. And then pessimism, I think, is the opposite of optimism. It's a negative viewpoint on things. It's kind of a glass is half empty kind of thing. You feel you don't have enough, or you're unworthy of enough, or things just aren't working out for you, is how I would describe pessimism. What about you?
You kind of hit all the spots that I was going to hit. So optimism, I think, is the silver lining to all of the clouds, right? So you are grateful to have this situation, whether it was a negative situation, or you try to find the silver lining in all of it, and you try to call in if it's something that might happen, you try to call it in and be optimistic about the situation. Pessimism, I feel like, is on course with what you said. Basically, you have a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a C word. Oh God. It's gonna burn me up now that I can't think of the word. But it's a very contrite viewpoint of everything, and you're always imagining the worst possible scenario so you can be ready for it. I think that's a part of pessimism, is you want to be ready for anything bad that can happen. You don't think about the good that could happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like avoiding disappointment by expecting disappointment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And realism, I think, is all of the scenarios, right? So I think of realism as, and y'all might not be Marvel fans like I am, but you remember in Endgame or Infinity War where Doctor Strange, he was sitting there and his eyes was doing this and he was going through all of the scenarios. I feel like that's a part of realism is that something good could come from this or something bad could come from this. So I think it's I won't even say a combination of both, but I think that's where both comes from. Like if you're an optimist, you're on this side of realism. If you're a pessimist, you're on this side of realism. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's what realism is that there's a million different scenarios and you are aware of them all. And that's probably what gives our generation a lot of anxiety.
A lot of realists.
What are the key differences between these perspectives for you?
Well, I feel like that's what we just discussed. I feel like those are the differences where one has more of a preparation for the worst. One is automatically preparing for the best. And the other is accepting where you are and whatever is going to come is going to come. So I think those are the key differences for me.
I would agree. I would just say that thinking of the glass half empty or half full, I think it's just about where your perspective comes from in life, like how you were raised. And all of your experiences attribute to how you look at that glass.
I agree. I do agree with all of your experiences. I don't necessarily think it's how you're raised, though. Because children that are raised in the same house with the same parents can be opposites. One can be a realist and the other a pessimist or an optimist.
But you get different parents. Each kid gets a different parent.
Right, but I'm saying the people who raised you or the way that you were raised. For me personally, I think that it didn't make or break any of me and my siblings because I feel like we're different when it comes to how we view things. And I'm the oldest, so I had the toughest parents, and I'm still the optimist. So for me, that wasn't a factor. But I see what you're saying.
Okay, so you kind of already answered this question, but I'm still gonna ask it. Which one do you identify with the most?
I would probably say I identify with optimism the most. I like to say that because I am optimistic and I am positive is one of the reasons why so many good things happen for me. Not to take away from my talent or my brilliance or my intelligence or anything of that nature, but I do think that just my energy of being positive and being someone that people enjoy being around has opened a lot of doors for me with me just being positive and optimistic about it. Even if it's not the greatest situation, even if it's not the best, there have been plenty of times I've gotten hired for shows and I get there and you will be like, this is ghetto. Or this ratchet, babe, like this is not our vibe at all. And I'm just like, they finna pay me to be here and I'm gonna have a good old time. Like I'm gonna get up here and I'm gonna do my job. And I don't know. That's just how I go about things. And sometimes some of those jobs end up turning into some of the most fun experiences or repeat customers or whatnot, because there were other comics who would come and they made it clear that they were either uncomfortable or dissatisfied because the crowd was this, or dissatisfied because the booker was late or because the show started or whatnot. And I'm like, what's happening is going to happen regardless. Okay. Me getting upset about this show starting late ain't going to make it start on time. We already 45 minutes late. Like, what are you bitching about? So, I think that my optimism and my positivity is one of the things that makes that opens a lot of doors for me. Not to say let people walk over you or anything like that, but in situations where you're happy to be there, they don't necessarily have to be perfect in order for you to enjoy yourself. So, yeah, I would say I identify more with optimism.
Before I give my answer, y'all answer in the comments. I wanna see how y'all feel.
How do you identify?
Yeah, what do you identify with the most as far as optimism, pessimism, and realism? I will say before I met you, I was more of a realist.
I would agree with that. When you met me, I think.
Yeah, and now as I'm learning about manifestation and learning that you have to call certain things in, so you have to have a certain amount of positivity and optimism that things are just going to work out. Like, just talking to my mom and my sister over the past few days, and it's been a lot going on with everybody, and I tell them both. I'll tell anybody, it's gonna work out. It is gonna work out. It is not gonna be the end of the world. It's gonna work out. And I did learn that for you, so I do appreciate that. And I think when I'm giving advice to someone, I can probably be the most optimistic person. But I do have that undertone of realism.
Yeah, you were very balancing for me, because I'm gonna win. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm gonna win, and that's just my mindset. That is my perspective. So she sometimes has to reel me in, like, baby, this right here, this, you're looking at the L though. Like, this is the loss.
Yeah.
She's like, we're currently looking at this L. And I'm like, I'm gonna win. And she's like, but we lost this one. She's like, I just need us to. So I feel like we're a good balance.
I agree. So we getting some answers. Jazzy said, "Is there a term that involves all three?" It is what it is. I don't know if there's a term that involves all three. I don't know. But that is interesting, Jazzy. You're going to have to follow up and why you feel like you all three. And
Keely, real.
Yeah. Keely said realism for sure with a dash of optimism. That used to be how I was. I had that dash of optimism.
Sprinkle. I done turned you up.
I'm trying, y'all.
That's all we can ask, baby.
And my cousin Richie said he's a combo of optimism and realism.
Do you think that they are mutually exclusive, or can someone exhibit several traits simultaneously?
Yeah. Well, like I just said, me, I'll probably say I'm like 60-40 optimism and realism. I still got that base, but I try to be mostly optimistic, to call stuff in and to see the situation glass half full. What about you?
I'm probably like
90-10.
Yeah, I was like 93% optimist. Like, I don't lose. I don't lose often, and that's why I don't lose well. I'm working on it, but I don't lose often. So yeah, I'd say I'm probably 93% positive, and then I have like 5% of realism, and the only time I'm really negative is when it's not something that I wanted in the first place. Yeah, like it's not something I desired or wanted in the first place, but I did it for somebody else or something, and then it doesn't turn out to be the way I wanted it to be, and then they're like not grateful for it or something like that. Then I'm like, fuck everything and everybody. Like, I didn't even want to do this. Like yeah, then it's different. But that's like maybe 1% or 2%.
How do all three perspectives influence your decision-making process?
Ooh, I'm impulsive. I am very.
You talking to two fire signs?
Yeah, I was like, I'm a pretty impulsive person. I go off of vibes. For me, if the energy says that I can have it, then I can have it. That's just my mind. If I'm in here, there's nobody in this room that can tell me no. Right? And if they can tell me no, that I wasn't supposed to have it. Like, I don't know. That's just kind of my mindset. Closed mouths don't get fed.
For me, I am a lot percent YOLO.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
But no, yeah, you a lot.
I'm pretty impulsive,
a lot
y'all.
percent YOLO. I didn't think there was anybody more YOLO that's not like crazy than me. Like, you're pretty cool, but you got a lot of YOLO. And in my decision making process, for me, it's either I don't have any in between. It's either I contemplate it a lot, and I feel like that's the realistic part in me, or I'm just like, fucking, and that's just the optimistic part of me. It's,
yeah, if it ain't gonna end my
it's
life
gonna work
or
out.
take my freedom, I mean, it's pretty worth the risk for me. Like, if I'm still gonna be free and alive,
that's how I look at
it.
Is what's the risk and what could be the reward. If the risk is not death or something very detrimental, then I'm probably gonna take the risk.
Right.
probably going to take
if it ain't going to take me away from my children, I'm pretty down. I'm pretty. Let's get it. So,
is it possible to balance all three, do you think?
Not for me, but for other people. I've met some pretty well-balanced people. I still think the balance is realism, though. I think the balance is someone just looking at all scenarios and choosing what they're most comfortable with, and it works out for them. I don't necessarily think there is a purpose in trying to balance it. What matters is what it does for you personally. The outside influence doesn't matter. So for me, being optimistic works for me. And I attract my people to me because I'm not looking to change it. And my family didn't try to break that down and be like, you need to focus on the real, after they realized I didn't give a shit about the real. And I was like, I don't care about what it looks like. I care about what I know and what I feel in my spirit is going to be. So I follow that. Because I have witnessed people that I love and people who want the best for me and people who wish the best for me be wrong. 100% wrong in advice that I've asked for, or when I came to them and with this big dream or whatnot, and they weren't optimistic. They were realist or they were pessimistic, and you just, crapped on my dream. So I had to start being like overly optimistic a little bit and a little bit more impulsive with my stuff, just so that I could show you your no is not my no. Your, mindset of, well, this is what you have to do in order to get these things. That mindset of you have to be 3 times as good to get half as much. That don't belong to me. Okay.
You can take that with you in your purse.
That with you. Keep that in your bag, baby. That's not my life. That is not my reality. So when I say that I'm optimistic, optimism is my realism. Optimism is my reality because I am positive, and because I am positive, I attract positive things, and that is what I subscribe to. So I'm sorry, my eye is doing the most, but that's what I subscribe to. So I don't necessarily see the purpose in trying to balance them out. Do what works for you. Your gut and your energy is telling you something. Listen to it.
Do you feel like that's affected because you feel the way you feel? Do you feel like that's affected the way you share or who you share, like possible good news with, or just things in general that's going on in your life?
I don't think it stops me from sharing, but it does give me pause.
Ooh.
Because one thing that I've noticed about myself is I wouldn't post when I was super excited about something that was coming to me online, because I didn't want it to seem like I was bragging, one. And then I didn't want my peers, other comics, to try and crap on what it is that I'm dreaming about. You remember when I tried to do the writing course, and I was like, I want to do comedy college, and I want people to come. I want us to write together. I want to create a vibe. I want this. And the people who needed to be there, the people who wanted to be there came. And it was a positive environment. We had a great time. However, there were a lot of comics that I didn't know this, but that were telling those comics who were paying to come, you're paying for that? I mean, you're paying to go to a writing session when you could just, you could write your comic already. I wasn't saying that I was going to I wasn't saying that I was going to change anything. It was an opportunity for you to come and see how to properly write a story. If you don't care about that, then that's your career, baby. If it's working for you in your career, then do what's working for you. But if you know that you're doing something and you're struggling in an area, and I'm offering you information and networking for you to further that, I don't understand why $25, you were so pressed about $25, and why you chose to talk the way that you did about what I was trying to do with my situation, right? So I don't know. I feel like it made me start pausing a little bit before I posted things. And now I got back into my mindset of your opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't affect whether or not I'm going to be successful at it. It doesn't affect whether or not I'm going to do it. So why do I care if I post it and you don't like it? Or if I post it and you're talking shit about it? Because you're talking shit from the same place that you were before, right? Whereas you're talking shit about someone who is progressing. You're talking crap about someone who has a vision. You're talking crap about someone who getting ready to create something big, and I guarantee you that when it becomes big, you're going to try to circle back around and try to be a part of it then, when you didn't want to be a part of that buildup and you tried to crap on the vision at the beginning. So just because you think that I'm not hearing it, or just because you think that I'm not seeing it, it gets back to me. All of it gets back to me because I am a positive person, and people that you're talking to like me, and they come back and they go, that's not your friend. You know, I'm sitting here thinking we cool. That's not your friend.
That ain't your friend.
Exactly.
That ain't your partner.
Yeah, it has affected the amount of time it takes for me to share something. It hasn't affected if I'm going to share it, because you're going to get this news. And it's positive, and I am excited about it, but it did kind of hurt my feelings a bit and make me kind of look at people differently in how I share it. I may not come to you personally and say it, but I'll still post it on my social media, because there are people who are proud of me, and there are people who want to see that news, and there are people who are going to clap for me and who want to celebrate with me. And I'm going to focus on those people instead of you over there mad in your corner hoping that I don't make it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can take that with you too.
You can take that L with you. I feel like the balance, if you feel like you have all three, is so Jazzy, if you are listening still, I feel like if you have all three, you're just a realist, because you are seeking out every possibility, and you like, it could go this way or it could go that way.
YOLO.
And you got to decide what the risk is to see what side of the spectrum that you're on, as far as being on the realism scale, the optimism side or the pessimism
making is what
side.
Determines what you're on in that moment.
Yeah. Right. So if you're all three, that you just a realist, and you are going through all the different scenarios that can happen, and you picking what side you want to be on at that moment. And I feel like a lot of people live in that space. But then
I do too. But I also feel like that's why a lot of people are indecisive. And that's why people feel that we're impulsive. Yeah. Because we just decide in that moment, in the energy, in that feeling, what do we want to do? What do we think that that's going to be? Let's do it. Like, that's it. It's that quick. There's nothing else to break down. What's the best that could happen? And that's where we're going. Who cares about the worst? If I'm not going to die or go to jail, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
If I want to do it, yeah. If I want to do it. I had a follow-up question. I forgot it. So we're going to talk... we're going to talk a little bit.
I'm too gay for prison.
I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the term, and I just heard of it not too long ago. You were reading something and showed it to me, but toxic positivity. What is, for listeners out there, what is toxic positivity?
Delusion.
Delulu.
Right. Delulu. That's what toxic positivity is. I'm trying to think of I actually I had a toxic positivity moment because I did absolutely nothing to get a goal that I wanted except state that I wanted said goal. Not to say that I am not working on it, but I do not have access to people like Kevin Hart. Right.
Not yet.
Right. Not yet. But he and another one of my favorite comedians, Takara Williams, were in town last year for one of his comedy shows. DC Young Fly was there. All these people, and with us being at the radio station, I started reaching out to them for interviews. But also, I wanted to get in the room with them. And I didn't buy tickets. I didn't do none of that. We went to a few of their behind the scenes like podcast, because they were starting a new podcast and stuff like that. We went to a few of their behind the scene podcasts, and I remember us just hanging out with some of the...
That's how we got Diallo.
Yeah, that's how we got Diallo Riddle on the show. So it was still a positive thing, but that's not what I was... not that Diallo's not what I was going for. I was trying to get in the room with freaking Kevin Hart, DC Young Fly, and Takara. I absolutely love them, right? So...
we was in the room with one of his boys.
Yeah, we was in a room with Naeem. I've been in a room with Naeem before, though. But we're in the room with Naeem. Shout out to Naeem Star. If you guys are not following him, you should. He's freaking hilarious. But I decided I was getting in by any means necessary. And in my head, I was so positive that I was getting in that room, y'all. I got backstage. Not to them, but I got as far as I could backstage before security was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. I'm a comedian too." And he was looking at me like, "But who are you?" Like, and he's looking at this list, like this name and whatnot. And I was like, "I don't know how to get past this portion." I had made it through so many different things just by acting like I was supposed to be there.
We ran into J. Cole.
Yeah. Like, I walked... I walked to where the back room was because I found some people who were supposed to be working the show. And when I heard them talking about them supposed to be working the show, I was like, oh yeah. They were like, we don't know where we're supposed to be. I was like, I think we're supposed to be over here. I just associated myself with them, walked to the back with them, got through the first thing of security, got through the second thing of security. And then when I got to the third thing of security, they needed like badges then, like, what's your name? Because these people clearly work here and you just standing here with them. And I was like, shit. I was finagling, y'all, but I had done nothing to think that I was going to actually make it into that show. I did make it pretty far, and we got some great interviews with Jeaux and with Punky Johnson and with Dicey.
Yep.
Dicey. I was like, oh my God, I forgot her name. No, I didn't. Dicey. Also very funny comedians.
And Punky's on SNL.
Yes, Punky is on SNL. Now shout out to Punky Johnson. So I still got some positive, optimistic things out of it, but my goal was to get into that show, and I had no access or passes, or I didn't buy tickets, I didn't anything. And I feel like that was me telling myself that I deserved to be there, and I was going to get into that room and into the green room with world-renowned comics, and girl, they don't know you.
So that was your moment of toxic positivity?
That was my moment of toxic positivity. I thought manifestation was going to get me in that door, baby. That was all I needed, was a pretty smile in my manifestation. So, yeah. I feel like that's an example of toxic positivity, but basically it's delusion. It's doing absolutely nothing to call it in, absolutely nothing to not necessarily deserve what it is you're going for, but creating a narrative and a story in your head that
the whole realm.
Yes, that everything is getting ready to work out. When you feel it in your body, you can feel the energy that it's not. You're sitting in the L, right? You're sitting in this loss. There's no resolution or solution, and it's out of your hands. There's nothing you can do to change it, and you're still like, so it's gonna happen, you know? I think toxic positivity is thinking that a relationship is going to work out, and it doesn't. Thinking that a relationship is going to get better. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's consistently lied or cheated or consistently not shown up for you. And you're just like, here, he going to do it. And all your friends are sitting there looking at you like, bitch. He going to do exactly what we know he going to do. What he been doing, right. He is not coming. He is not showing up for you. He is not going to send you that money. He is not going to flip your taxes. Okay? He took your money. Ain't no flip, okay? So I think that is toxic positivity.
I would agree. You know, I just go back to the story of after we had that conversation with Nee, and I was driving.
Thank you for doing that. No, ma'am. What are you doing? Oh, Lord. I would never forget that.
It's so funny. So if y'all haven't heard the story, so we were at her aunt's house, and, you know, she's always dropping gems on us. And this particular day, I absorbed the wrong lesson.
That wasn't even me. That was Cece. That was at the spiritual thing that she invited us to. We went and got the crystals. I looked at her upside her head crazy when she said it. She was right. Like, yeah. She goes, you know, you don't have time for that negativity. Even when people cut me off on the road, I used to get upset, and now I just go, thank you for doing that. And I was like, oh, that's not smart. That's all I was thinking when she did it. I was like, people gonna keep cutting you off.
So y'all, I got in the car, and I swear I was getting cut off. I almost got ran off the road just on the way home from this experience, and I was getting ready to cuss and yell and honk, and I stopped myself, and I was like, whew, thank you for doing that. And I sounded so retarded.
Mm-hmm. And it helped me write a joke about driving and getting cut off. Because what? I will cuss you out today. What? That's crazy. That doesn't stop me from being a positive person. But you just cut me off. You are wrong. I have the right. No, that's crazy. So yes, that is toxic positivity. It's ignoring the truth. Toxic positivity is ignoring the truth of how you feel, and trying to turn it into something else. I don't feel good about this. This made me feel sad. It made me feel depressed. It made me feel hurt. It made me feel trauma. It made me feel whatever. And instead, you're masking
and
trying to,
feelings.
You're ignoring it and trying to act like everything's fine, everything's good. And you're walking in this false narrative. That is toxic positivity, and that is not manifestation. That's delusional.
So don't do that. Don't be delulu. So my cousin Richie got a question. He's curious to know what we think about how much it affects relationships with the differences between the mindsets, optimism, pessimism, and realism. Like if you have someone that's very optimistic and very pessimistic, how do you think it would affect the relationship?
Well, my youngest son's father is very much so a realist. Very, very much so. He is even playing field
That's
a realist.
African
This
culture,
is what happened.
though.
Yes, he's Nigerian. Girl, I don't know what it is you're dreaming about, but this is our life right now. Right? That's him. And with him, I think for me personally, I'm so positive, and just the way that my personality works, I kind of change the people I date. I don't mean to. Like, I don't mean to make them change that mindset, but I make it clear that they're not going to change mine.
I think it's a positive change, though.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's a very positive change because he was very much so a realist the first, like maybe 6 months we were together, and he was very calm-natured and whatnot. And before he knew it, I had him hosting game nights with me and singing karaoke and doing all this stuff that he's not used to. And he's, want to be my chismo man, but he started dating me, and sir, I am impulsive as hell. You're gonna have to get out your shell a little bit. So I think for most of my relationships, I usually ended up getting in relationships with people who were more balanced as far as being realist. And before they get out of a relationship with me, they're leaning more toward the optimistic side. However, it did cause some conflict or a little friction in the beginnings of those relationships, only because I'd be the one that's like, oh, let's go do this. And they were like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And I was like, what about it? Like, that ain't got nothing to do with, let's do it. So it would cause some light arguments or whatnot at the beginning of the relationship. But I think
I've been in a relationship with a pessimist before, and it is so draining. Oh,
I've
my
never
goodness.
attracted a pessimist.
It's
Not in a relationship,
it
in a
wasn't long.
friendship.
It wasn't
Because
long.
Naomi was negative Nelly.
And
Negative Nelly.
That's why I couldn't do it. And I was trying to warn you from it. But
I thought that she would change like everybody else changed. Anybody else that I met, but they were realists, they weren't pessimists.
Yeah.
So it was easy to get them over to my side. I just added a little, because realism, like we said, it has a little bit of optimist and a little bit of pessimist. I didn't recognize. I recognized that this person was negative. I didn't recognize that this person was a complete pessimist. So I thought, sprinkle a little optimism in their day and they'll be over here. And no, it just made them a little bit more of a realist. And that wasn't what I needed either. I didn't need you to bring me to reality. I know what it is. What?
yeah,
someone who a very fine line of optimism and delusional. It's a very
she be tightrope walking. But it's very draining because you're always trying to make their half full cup full. Because you're always trying to get them to see the brighter side, and it's just a constant struggle of trying to remind them to be grateful, because I think that's a part of optimism is gratitude
Sure.
And they don't have it. It's the complete opposite. It's woe is me, right?
I also feel like pessimistic people are not magnetizing. I don't understand how we even end
I cannot be around a pessimistic person at this point in my life.
Or anything. I don't even attract those type of people anymore.
Yeah, I cannot be around a pessimistic person at this point in my life.
You
so
get above me.
If I love you and you feel like you're pessimistic, we gotta work on that. But yeah, it's so draining because you're always trying to fill their cup to where they feel happy enough to feel comfortable with it. But it's a constant struggle, and pessimism isn't for me at this point in my life.
I'm too busy enjoying myself to worry about you enjoying yourself. So you got to figure that out yourself.
So I think it would be very difficult to have a relationship with
like polar opposites. Optimist and pessimist would be really hard. But like either of those dating a realist, I think would be okay.
Because they can slide.
Yeah.
They can slide back and forth. The realists can slide. And they can come to your side but still sometimes dip over to theirs. Jazzy said, I have 2 pessimistic parents. Shocker. Lord, Jazzy, you just be over there going through it. She said, I just let them complain and walk away.
Yeah, that's really all you can do. You got it. Mom and dad, you got it.
Do you think it's a generational thing?
No, because I would assume her parents are around the same age as ours. Well, mine.
I was going to say, mine were older. Mine came from, Jim Crow. Well, my father did. Came from Jim Crow, and he was definitely more pessimistic, realistic than optimism. Yeah, I don't think I saw a shade of optimism in him.
Yeah, no. My mom was more of an optimist when she wasn't battling depression. My dad was more of a realist. My biological father was more of a realist. And I am very grateful to have been raised by the optimist, because I don't lose. I'm telling y'all, I do not. I do not lose. And even when I didn't get what it is that I was setting to get, I get something. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm always just like,
what's the worst that can happen?
Right, because even with the story that I just gave, did I get to meet Kevin Hart? No. Did I get to meet Marlon? No. But did I get 2 interviews with 2 other stars who are connected to the network that I was trying to get connected to? Absolutely. A win is a win.
A win is a win. A win is a win.
So, yeah.
Mom, you got to tap in and tell me, what do you feel like you're more like an optimist, pessimist, or a realist? Tap in, Mom, if you're listening, which you should be.
I think your mom is slowly starting to become more optimistic just since I've met her.
I got it. So I went home over the weekend, and shout out to my mom for helping me get home this weekend and surprise Pops for Father's Day. Oh, and happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We love y'all.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yes.
And happy Pride Month.
Yes.
All the things.
Happy. And when I was at home with my mom, I feel like it's just a little bit of fine tuning I got to give her. Like, my mom has a lot of anxiety and she worries a lot. So I just got to fine tune it to tell her, look, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. And just calm her down just a little bit. That's how I feel.
It's working for my good. Come on, y'all.
We just got to fine tune it a little bit and get some of those thoughts to be a little bit more positive. I think she's come a long way
since when we first got together, though. Just based on some of y'all's conversations, that I wouldn't always hear her side, but I would hear how you were responding to her side, and I could tell that it wasn't what it was that you were looking for at the time. So it felt pessimistic. It felt like there was negativity on the other line. But now, like, listening to you talk to your family, that's why I told you I'm so proud of you. One, for standing your ground and standing up for yourself, but also just for being honest about your feelings and things like that, because it lets you know who people really are and if they really do care about your feelings when you're not masking anymore. And seeing your mom's response and reaction.
My mom's response has been absolutely amazing, and I appreciate her for all the things and the support.
So I'd say she's leaning. She's leaning a little bit more. I still say she's a realist, but I feel like she gets that sprinkle of optimism every now and then.
And that's what I was saying. I think that's where the anxiety comes from in realism, because you think about all of the different scenarios, and you're just running through them all through them, and they all give you anxiety just thinking about all the different ones. How do you think the difference in perspectives influences your behavior, such as spending, saving, and investing? Like, if you're more optimistic, you're more willing to spend, or how do you think it correlates between those things?
I think it depends on what the goal is, because when it comes to optimism, realism, and pessimism, it is your overall perception of what's going to happen. In my mind. So I think if you want to spend more money, or if you want to have more money and you're optimistic, you will spend or have more money. If you want to save more money and you're optimistic, then you will save more money. I think it depends on what your goal is. For me, with me being impulsive, I want to make more money. So I am putting into the universe that I want to get money for doing things that I want to do, for things that I enjoy doing. Not to say that I don't want to be paid for things that I don't want to do, but I don't want to do what I don't want to do. Right? So getting on that playing field with the universe, I'm like, I want to be paid. I want people to pay me to do what I want to do. And I put that in the universe. And now I decided I'm going to be a comedian full time. And in my second year, I've got a show to produce where they're paying me to put on a show doing what I love to do. Right. So, and I was optimistic this entire time about it. When whether the finances said I was going to get it or not, whether the clubs that I was trying to get into said I was going to get it or not, whether my parents were going to be able to help me or not, this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it. So optimism made it happen. Those things are happening. And I want to make more money, but I also enjoy nice things. And I also enjoy self-care. And I also do not place budgets on things that I enjoy, like food or perfume.
She does
I
not
do not place a budget
for those things.
on things that I know that I am deserving of. And I know that the money will come. I don't know always where it will come from, but I know that I am supported and I know that things are working out for me. So sometimes that money may come from my parents. Sometimes it may come from my godparents. Sometimes it may come from my grandparents. Sometimes it may come from my girlfriend. Sometimes it may come from my brother. Sometimes it may but it's coming. I don't know. It may come from my aunt. It may come from a random stranger who decides to book me in another state. And I really needed $1,000. And he says, hey, I got $600 for you if you can do this weekend or if you can do Friday and Saturday. It just comes because I'm expecting it to come. I don't know where it's coming from, but I expect it to come. So because I am optimistic about where my finances are going to be, I know that the money's going to come. And then I also know that when it does come, I'll be able to pay back the people who are giving it to me now. So.
Yeah, I owe a lot of y'all money, so I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with good people who support the vision even when they can't see it is really, really dope.
They've been blind supporting both of us.
Yes.
You know what? We got to have an appreciation show.
We do.
They have been blindly supporting us. My mama I don't know what you do. I know, and you know what? I know my mama be having the urge to say, why don't you just go get a real job? I know she be fighting that urge every day.
I know my daddy be like, damn, when you gonna get a job, girl? Have you been putting in applications? Like, I know he's got to have that itch. Cause I just know he got to be like, every month, no, you need something. And they got a lot of kids. It's a lot of us. Your mama only got 2. My parents got 5 kids. So, and all
my
of us
mama
ain't out
is
the
retired
house.
and basking in
Yeah.
it, so
All
it's a
of
little
us-
harder for her. But yeah,
So,
we got to have an appreciation show
I
for
am
them.
extremely grateful for our families, man. Y'all are dope. We love you. We appreciate you. Don't die, because we're going to pay you back. I promise.
Yeah.
Don't, stay alive. Because
For sure.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And we're going to have y'all. Y'all going to have the best Mother's Day gifts, best Father's Day gifts. I'm going to buy, I don't know if I'm, you know how some people have those dreams like buying their parents a house? I didn't have that dream. In my dream of them having a house, like I was gonna buy land.
That was my dream too.
And then y'all can just build
To buy
whatever
a
you
block.
want on. Yeah, to buy a block or a neighborhood or something, and then boom, my family, we all in here. You know, everybody's reachable. All the nephews, nieces, we already know that the kids are great because everybody here is related. That was my dream. Like buying my mama some random house in some random country or in some random. That was never something that I thought was gonna be fun. I still got to drive over there. I don't want to do that. Like
I want to be able to walk out my
to
house.
your house, yeah. And knock on my mama door.
Yes, mama
or
would,
not
or
even
go
open
through
the
a
door.
tunnel. Go through a tunnel.
Right. That was my dream. So, yeah. But thank y'all for blindly supporting us. We really do appreciate it. I appreciate everything. My family bought me my first podcast mic when I told them it's what I really wanted to do. I was like, I want to talk to these people for real. And I started TikTok and I started getting really big on there. My mom was like, do you want to do that? I do. I really enjoy it. I want to talk to people. I didn't know that I wanted to do comedy, but I knew that talking to people it just lit me up in a different way. And people enjoyed hearing me talk to them, and people, responded, and we had a different form of unity. I felt like I had friends all over the fucking world, so I was like, I want to do this. And it just blossomed into, well, I think I want to be a life coach. So I got my life coach license, and then I was like, well, what am I coaching people about exactly?
You got to be better.
Yeah. you just be more optimistic. I don't know. So, yeah. And then I started my activism. Being more active in activism in my hometown, and motivational speaking and whatnot helped with that background. So I took off, blew up in the activism world, and yeah, and that's how I ended up getting here. I got to comedy out of that. I knew I was supposed to be on stage, and I knew I was supposed to be talking to people. It just took me a couple stages and a couple different talking careers to realize this is what I want to do. I want to be a radio personality and a world-renowned stand-up comedian and an actress. So y'all look out for me, because I'm going to do it all. I'm telling y'all.
Do it all.
Stay lined up with the vision, okay?
Okay, so how do you think the different perspectives cope with stress and anxiety?
Ooh.
I know we can only speak from what we experience.
I agree. Well, I'm optimistic, but I still suffer from anxiety. But I think that has more to do with ADHD and my brain not slowing down sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
My anxiety stems more so from overwhelm and overstimulation. It's too loud. Too many people are talking. Too many people are breathing. The temperature is changing. Things like that. Like when I was explaining to y'all what it feels like to walk into a grocery store for somebody with ADHD. I was like, it really irritates me that I'm really good at just I'm really good at things that other people find very, very difficult to do. But simple things like walking through a grocery store will overwhelm me to the point that I can pass out in the middle of the fucking store. I can just boop and hit the floor. Somebody's got to get me a chair and some water or something, because I got overstimulated and I can't breathe in here. So, I don't know. I can only speak from my point of view, because my optimism and me being positive about something doesn't necessarily affect my anxiety or make it higher or lower, because it's tied to a mental health concern. It's tied to my mental health rather than my perspective or my mindset. So I feel like that's a difference for me. I can't really answer that for other people. How about you?
Being pessimistic sounds like it's real stressful. Like,
it
all
actually
the time.
sounds less stressful for me, because if you're expecting the worst to happen and you're preparing for the worst to happen, then when it happens, you were prepared, right?
I'm sorry, I used the wrong word. It sounds really low vibrational.
It does. It sounds very lonely, is what it sounds like. Low
You're gonna leave me.
and
You're gonna
lonely.
leave me.
Yeah.
You're gonna leave me. It sounds like it's very hard to deal with.
I remember standing with a friend, and another friend brought up the fact that their parent had just got diagnosed with cancer. And before I could even say my condolences, the friend that I was with asked them how long they had. And I was like, you just killed off their daddy? Like, dang, she said he got cancer. She did not say he was gonna die. Like, people survive cancer.
Cancer is not a death sentence anymore.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, there are plenty of cancer survivors. They got marches and everything. What you going through? Like, I was like, oh my God. And the girl, I don't think she had even considered death.
There was a timeline.
Right. She didn't. So she looked
So
shocked
you
too,
just
and I
fucked
was
her up.
Like, yeah. I was like, why would you, why was that your first? Not, I'm sorry. Not, oh my goodness. Not, oh, okay. So what's the treatment plan? Like, automatically, how long does he have left? She didn't even say it was like stage 4. Like, she just said she found out that her
She
dad.
put a timestamp on her daddy.
I was like, you just killed her daddy, dog. Like, what did you? God. That didn't even cross my mind. So yeah, I think when it comes to pessimism, they don't even realize. They're just automatically thinking the worst, and you don't realize putting that energy into the universe caused it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I started rebuking. They wasn't even my daddy, but I got to rebuking stuff for Shorty, because I was like, nah, he gonna be fine. He's gonna be absolutely fine. What's the treatment plan? Like, I started talking
that's
about
what I was gonna say. That would be my first thought if someone close to me revealed that they had cancer. Okay, so what diet are we gonna do? What is there an experimental drug we can try? We not gonna, radiation and chemo is gonna be last on the list.
Is there a mass?
What
are we doing? I have more questions.
Let's get one of them frequency machines. I'm doing research.
When you finna die is not one of them.
Yeah, that is not it. We spring into action.
Exactly. That was wild. So I think that pessimistic people cause more anxiety for us than anything. Yeah.
I would agree. I would agree. My mom says she's a realist.
I agree. I would agree with that.
I would agree with that. I had a good question for you. I lost it again.
Oh, don't we hate when that happens?
Let me see. Oh, this is interesting. Is it possible to strike a balance between optimism and pessimism?
As a realist, because that's what we said realism is to us. It is a mix of the two, and trying to weigh out how you feel about each thing. I feel like realism is taking your best and worst scenario and going with your gut on which one you feel is your outcome, is likely your outcome.
That was the question I was going to ask you. Do we know anyone that is famous or a star or rich that is a pessimist?
I think Nicki Minaj is a pessimist now.
Is she a cokehead?
Yeah, and it made her a pessimist. I feel like it made her.
But she didn't start out that way.
Well, no, or she wouldn't have made it.
So that's what I was. That's what I was leading to. Do you think you can achieve your goals, even if your life goals isn't to be a star or famous or rich? Do you think you can achieve your goals being a pessimist?
I don't know. That ain't my life. I don't know. It seems like you would just attract a lot of negativity. But also I've seen people who had really good hearts become really, really cold, negative individuals because of some things that life threw at them. They just didn't recover after some of those curveballs. And it hurt to see because we were aligned, and to look at where they are now, it's like, because no, they didn't reach their goals. They're either strung out. I see them on, at the bus stop or whatever, looking like they at the bus stop.
Golly.
Yeah, walking down the street talking to themselves and just looking unhealthy or whatnot. And it's like, and they used to be such bright stars and bright people with such a bright view on life. But a couple curveballs that they didn't recover from has completely warped their point of view. And now I don't even think they have goals. They remember what life used to be, but you can't go back. You have to move forward. So being a pessimist now and wishing that you could be better, but you're wishing that your better is backwards. And no, so I don't think that you can achieve your goals as a pessimist because you don't really have any.
Because you're just trying to figure out what's the worst that could happen.
Right.
In every possible situation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you think your optimism sparks your creativity or lends to your creativity and innovation?
I don't know if it sparks it, but when I'm writing or when I'm doing something, it's from the optimistic point of view, which is how I'm able to find the humor in it. Because even if it's something that I didn't enjoy,
dark,
or it's dark humor, I can find the silver lining and still make it something that everyone can laugh at. So yeah, I think it contributes to my creativity. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of successful writers are probably more realistic because they can put their mindset and create certain characters that are pessimistic, if that makes sense, because they can lend from that perspective and slide across the scale when they're creating different characters.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I would have to talk to some other writers.
All right, y'all. That is the show for today. So remind them about your new show coming up.
Las Vegas. If you are in the Las Vegas area, if you're visiting the Las Vegas area, or if you are a Vegas local, guys, pull up on me Tuesdays at 8 p.m. at C3 Seafood, Cajun Crab, and Crawfish for Joe King with Friends. The show starts at 8. And of course, like I said, I got the hottest DJ MVZ. I'm so excited that she agreed to do this with us. And of course, King's Karaoke is going to be super lit. So if you think you know 90s sitcom theme songs in West Philadelphia, born and raised, if you think you know it, or any classic Disney songs, 90s R&B, or 90s hip-hop songs without the lyrics, then we want to see you step up to King's Karaoke this Tuesday. Hop on the mic and let's see what you can win. Pull up every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Joe King and Friends, guys. And again, tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. for Laugh Therapy. We will see y'all next week. Love y'all.
See ya.